Well, what a movie, man. What a fucking movie. Honestly, I think that's something I say every time I tend to rewatch this shit. Every time I plop this one in and let it play out from start to finish, you're just left with, wow, well, it was a movie. What a movie, man. It's an odd one, this one. Rob Zombie's Halloween, 2007, man. And before we start this, I just want to say that Halloween Ends is a week old, and I didn't like Halloween Ends, and I might rip into it a little bit as this review goes forward. So, potential spoilers for Halloween Ends if you have not seen it yet, because I don't know what I'm going to say once I get rolling here. I'm going to try to keep the focus mostly on this one, but I might take a jab at Ends. So, the first thing that I want to say about this movie right here is that this movie is not for everybody. I think that's very well established based on the fact where it ranks on most people's lists. When you see this one ranked on a lot of people's lists, it's toward the bottom. This movie's not for everybody. Okay, it's just not the direction that Zombie chooses to go in this movie. Automatically, like it lowers the audience. Like when you show, like when someone says, "Oh, I'm thinking about getting into horror movies," or like, "Do you like horror movies? What horror movie would you recommend?" This is not the one you're going to tell them. This is not what you're going to tell them to watch. This is not what I'm going to tell them to watch. This is not what anybody's going to watch. When you're going to watch a Halloween movie with your family every year, and you want what's a scary Halloween Michael Myers movie, this is not the one you're putting in. It's not. It's just not. It's not. It ain't that kind of movie. It's just not. Like if the casual sit down with your family and show your kid their first horror movie. This is not it. This is like if Halloween 78 is like a tier 1 movie in terms of like the amount of people that like are watching, its target audience is like everybody, couples go get scared at the movie theater. If Halloween 78 and 2018, like if those are tier 1 movies, like tier 10 is like a Serbian film, this is like a 2 or a 3. This is a step, a bigger step into the genre. This is something more along the lines of a Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's probably even below that. Like I'd show somebody Texas. Like I would recommend Texas Chainsaw Massacre to people. I can't really recommend this movie to everybody. However, that all being said, I'm about to give this movie a positive review. Okay, I have absolutely no shame in admitting that I love this movie. I love this movie. I think this movie is underrated as fuck, and I think it is a genuine top 5 movie in this franchise. Don't at me. Don't at me. If you see my Halloween Ends, don't at me, bro. Don't at me. I've been rewatching a lot of them lately. This is significantly better than Ends, than 5, than 6, than 8. It's not a little better than those movies. It is a lot better than those movies. Okay? It's genuinely good and underappreciated, despite what it is in some situations. And when I talk about these movies, I must again also stress that I am talking exclusively about the theatrical cuts. I'm probably like when I watch Halloween 2, I'm gonna watch the theatrical cut, and the reason for that is like Rob Zombie is not the best writer in the entire world. He's not. He's not really a good writer, and it shows in this movie in some situations as well. He's not the best writer. So what you get when you get the director's cuts is Rob Zombie completely off his leash, writing whatever wacky, stupid thing he wants to see happen on the screen. Which Rob Zombie, in his weird little mind, that's going to be a rape scene that helps Michael Myers get out of his cell. That is terrible. The director's cuts of both movies take an iffy idea, which is iffy. What he chooses to do with Haddonfield and the characters is iffy. And it makes it fucking unwatchable. The rape scene in the director's cut is genuine, unwatchable dreck. It's terrible. It's actually terrible, and it is a low point for the entire franchise. Garbage. It's terrible. The director's cuts of these movies are garbage, and you should stay away from them. However, the theatrical cuts need to be more reined in. People there's more people involved, and like it's not like that. Like they put a leash on Zombie, okay? A Rob Zombie on a leash is the best form of Rob Zombie you get. When he is on a leash being reined in by other people, that is the best Rob Zombie. Like, so like, if you avoid the director's cuts, you avoid most of the shit that people complain about from these two movies. Most of it. Michael speaking in number 2, for instance, avoid it if you watch the theatrical cut. Watch the theatrical cuts. They're way more in line with what you're looking for here. I always thought that Rob Zombie, honestly, would make a way better Friday the 13th movie than a Halloween movie. I honestly thought he'd be way better for Friday the 13th, because what Friday the 13th's characters are, it's more in line with what he wants to do. And like just the Friday the 13th as a franchise is much more in line with Rob Zombie's likes, like, as a filmmaker, and what he likes to do with all the trashy characters and like all that shit. I thought he'd be a way better fit. However, he made Halloween, and as I said, the package turns, like, when you put Rob Zombie's interesting coat of paint on Halloween, it's honestly it's an awkward match, but it somehow ends up working. Okay? Another thing that I'm going to suggest with this movie, if you don't like it, okay, this is gonna sound weird. If you don't like it, watch it again. Like, I've watched this. This is probably, honestly, if it's not my most rewatched, it is my second most rewatched behind the original. And there was a reason for that, because the first time I saw it, I hated it and didn't like it. The second time I rewatched it, I also didn't like it. Like, I gave it a rewatch. I didn't like it. But, like, this movie's free on YouTube, by the way. It's a little pixelated, but you can get the experience. It's like, so it's like, there's very, very little to lose by giving this another watch. Watch it a third time. It's like, when I watched it the third time or so, it's like, okay, I kind of see what he's doing here at the end. This is cute. Like, the third act's actually okay. Fourth time you're watching it, it's like, okay, I like this better. I'm better and better. Like, every time you watch it, you will like it more and more and more and more. If you're giving it a genuine chance. If you're hate watching it, that's one thing. That's one thing. Like, if you just hate watching it, whatever. But, like, if you're not hate watching it and you're looking for positives and negatives, you will find over time that the positives of this movie shine very bright. It has high highs and low lows. And that's how you do something different. Don't give me this Halloween Ends was doing something different bullshit. This was different. This right here, this was different. And this doesn't disrespect the legacy of Michael Myers nearly as much as Ends does. Whether you find the Kid Michael stuff and the backstory kind of disrespectful, and like the supernatural stuff is not in it, whether you find all that disrespectful, one thing, what happened in Ends was a disgrace. And this movie has no low in it in terms of Michael Myers that is as low as Ends. The character of Michael Myers in this movie is handled beautifully. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about it. We will. So, getting into this movie, okay, I chop this movie up into 3 acts, okay? Most people chop it up into 2. I chop it up into 3, okay? The first act is everything pre-Smith's Grove, in my eyes. Everything that's before the asylum. Act 2 is when they're at the asylum all the way to Michael's breakout, and Act 3 is the actual remake of the Carpenter movie. Those are the 3 acts I classify this movie as. Okay? So that being said, let's start with Act 1. Act 1 is terrible. Okay? Act 1 is the hardest part of the movie to get through every single time you watch it. Okay? Now, this is a problem. This is a problem. Because, again, when you're writing stuff and you're trying to get people, the very first impression that is your most important part. You got to give people the lore and hook them in. This movie's opening scene is terrible. It's terrible. But if you value dark humor, it's actually it's so over the top to the point of being comical. It's so like it completely fails at everything it's trying to do and just ends up being hilarious in the most awful way. And of course, I'm talking about the fight at the dinner table. They're having breakfast. The fight at breakfast is what I'm referring to. The character of Ronnie Elam is so over the top, exaggerated, and ridiculous that it comes off as hilarious. It's not like they're trying to like set up this family environment as Michael is not like he grows up in a bad environment. That's what they're trying to communicate to you. But it's like it's hard to even like get that message because you're laughing at Ronnie talking about skull fucking and crawling around and the big waitress at the bingo line, she been giving me the freaky eye. Like everything Ronnie Elam says is a goddamn meme. It really is. That's terrible because it shouldn't be, and that's something not what Zombie was going for. Okay? So like but it's so comically bad. Okay, like Laurie crying is like the best part of the scene because Laurie's crying is the best part of the first act because it comes back at the end. Okay, like it's like that scene also establishes what we're doing here. The town of Haddonfield has been converted. Rob Zombie changes the setting of Haddonfield from a typical suburban neighborhood to white trash city. It's now everyone's white trash. Okay, everybody. Which I mean, sure, like I don't agree with the change, but like I'll let it slide, I guess, because it's like Rob Zombie's, it's what he likes to do. Rob Zombie is super obsessed with that white trash side of humanity, and it's like, and you know, I've dated that before, getting into Rosie's personal life. I'm not gonna say he got it wrong. Like there's certain aspects of it he does get right, but like it's not what you want to be watching. It's also like, again, it doesn't really belong in your Halloween movie. But and you also at this dinner table stuff, you get the next issue with the movie, and this is all the characters' dialogue is another problem with the movie. Everybody's so vulgar, over the top, but it's also quickly clear that this is going to be a movie with a lot of sexual undertones. The sex stuff in this movie is very noticeable. It's like, I don't even think you were a perv if you notice it. It's not exactly subtext. It's very laid out. Like the fucking Judith at the table, like making her stroking noises or whatever the fuck she was doing with the rat or whatever she was making fun of Michael about the rat. And like at school, like Myers' mom is a stripper. And what else is happening? Like the kids got pictures of her. They say Judith was selling blowjobs in the bathroom or some shit. That's not confirmed or denied. It's just something that they say in the movie. Michael like strokes Judith before he kills her, and all the delightful incest implications that come in there. And this shit carries over into all the acts. Like characters look at porn magazines and fucking. There's a very weird line with Linda about her dad that takes me out of the movie every time I hear it too. Like it's like something about like ever since the divorce she's had her dad wrapped around her little finger, which I mean in a movie where everybody wasn't a sexualized pervert, like that line wouldn't really do much for you, but because you know how everybody else in the movie acts, like that line kind of takes you out of the movie a little bit. Like pervert and slut are thrown around like they're nothing. Cunts thrown around in there a couple times. Like I could keep going on and on about the shit as it happens. Like all the important females are attractive. Like that was a casting decision. It definitely was. And like when Michael's killing all these girls, they're fucking half naked half the time. Like it's a very sexualized movie. And it's just kind of there. Like, Rob Zombie's not exactly saying anything with it. It's just there, and that's it. It's just part of the movie's identity. And again, that's another reason why you really wouldn't share this movie with people. It's like you wouldn't want to be caught watching this. Like it borders on pornography at some portions with some of the shots and like what he shows. It's just like it can be very uncomfortable until it's not uncomfortable anymore, I guess. It's there, it's subtext. You could write an essay on it, but I'm not going to try to analyze it because it's not something I enjoy analyzing, and it lowers the movie's quality and is in fact in bad taste. It's not very good. That aspect of the movie should have been toned down a little bit, even from the theatrical cut, in my opinion. Okay, so next let's talk about Myers a little bit. Kid Michael's not very good, and the writing certainly doesn't help. Like, it's not entirely his fault. The Kid Michael in this is just not very good. That's another reason the first act is hard to watch and hard to get through, because he's just not very good. He grunts and screams a lot during a lot of his killing, something that returns in 2, the more I think about it. But he's just, he looks weird in the mask. When he puts on the white mask, that, by the way, he got that from he nicked that off a guy who likes to wear it during sex, so more weird Rob Zombie stuff there. But when a Kid Michael puts on the mask and he's stalking Judith down the hall, the shot where he enters the frame wearing the adult mask as a child looks stupid. Like, it's not good. The entire first act of this movie is pretty bad. And I wanted to discuss, the last thing I want to discuss about the next part of the first act, it kind of goes into the second act too, and to the third act. This is kind of a cross-movie thing, is that the way that Myers works in this movie, if you will, the way he works, like goes to work and does his thing, it's inconsistent even in the movie. The first 2 acts feature Myers as a very brute force kind of killer, more on the lines of Jason. He's very brute force, over the top. He stabs Judith like 16 times. He bludgeons that guy with the baseball bat. This is, and like just the way that he kills is very, very brute force, and he's gonna whack you over and over and over and over and over again until you're dead. Okay? Scary, sure. It's scary in its own way. Like, if you're getting chased by a Michael Myers, you want it to be Tyler Mane the very last. Maybe Kills is worse. Maybe Kills. Like, the 2 scariest Michael Myers that you do not want to be chased by are Halloween 2007 and Kills. Probably 2009 too, because it's technically the same character. I guess 2018 and Ends are the same. But I mean, if you want to get chased by any Michael Myers, you want to be chased by Halloween Ends Michael Myers, because he's useless and trash. But, like, do that what you will. But it's inconsistent with Myers' character, because Myers, like, not even in the 78 version, in its own movie, because in Act 3, he starts acting like John Carpenter Myers again. And it comes off out of nowhere. Because this character, the character of Act 1 and Act 2 is not a stealth machine. Like the OG shape. It's just he's just not that character. So when he starts doing the stealth stuff, it comes off as weird and odd. I think Rob Zombie honestly should have cut all the Carpenter stuff out. Like, all the homages to the Carpenter movie. Yes, they're cute homages, but they're also the worst parts of the third act, because they don't belong there. It worked in 78 because of how Myers was characterized. I don't buy Rob Zombie's Tyler Mane Myers as the guy who would decorate, or the guy that would, like, you know, puts the thing on Paul's head, like, or the guy who would stab somebody and then tilt his head and look at it. That's not this Myers. So, like, that's why all that stuff kind of comes off as odd in the third act when he starts being Myers, but he starts being like the real Myers again. It just comes off as odd because he wasn't portrayed like that at all in Act 1 and Act 2. But, I mean, that's a very minor nitpick. It's still mostly fine. So, but that's about everything I want to say about Act 1. Okay? So, let's get to Act 2, when he's at the asylum. There was a nice callback to the original. You notice stuff the more you rewatch this shit. When Danny Trejo's talking about looking beyond the wall to Michael Myers in the cell, that's a callback to the original, because that's something that Loomis said that Myers was doing in his cell. So, like, there's little stuff in there if you notice it. I like the idea of Michael making masks inside of his cell. I like that. With all the masks on the wall, like, they enter the room when he's an adult and there's masks just everywhere. I like that idea. They don't do much with it, but, like, again, it's just one of those things that just kind of exists. It's just kind of there. But, like, I liked it. It made Myers' cell, you still notice some weird masks every time you look at it. It's very good. I like that idea. However, Act 2 is not without its issues. The biggest issue with Act 2 is the fact that the Loomis-Myers relationship is underdeveloped. They have scenes together. When Myers is a kid, they have sessions. They show sessions, which sounds on paper like a neat idea, and it is a neat idea. The issue here, however, is that it's so underdeveloped. They don't do much with it. There's not a lot that goes on in those scenes, okay? And the impact that this has, because those scenes are underdeveloped, it doesn't feel like Loomis, like when Loomis is talking about Myers, it doesn't seem like he knows Myers that well. In the original, maybe this is what Zombie was going for, but when Loomis in the original is talking about Myers, he is characterizing, and that's Loomis's role in the OG Halloween. He is characterizing a character that doesn't speak. He taught all that stuff is about but you get a sense that Loomis understands Myers better than anybody on the planet. You don't get the sense that this Loomis understands this Myers to the same degree. And again, maybe that's what Zombie was going for. However, I don't like Loomis's role has changed in that. But it's like, if it's what he was going for, sure. I mean, I know Loomis's role is different in this, and especially in the next one, which we'll fucking get to, because that's not very good. But like, you don't get the sense that these two are as connected as the OG Myers and the OG Loomis. If that makes any sense. The irony of showing stuff actually makes them feel further apart rather than closer together, which is the irony there. Because if it wasn't what he was going for, then it was a huge fucking mistake. Okay? That's the biggest problem with Act 2. They're showing you stuff, but you're actually not getting a lot of information out of it. Okay? Okay, so alright, let's get to the meat. That's the biggest problem, at least like the first part of Act 2. However, when Myers is an adult, this is when the movie gets going. Like, when the first 30 minutes are over, and again, that's not, like, again, it's hard to get through, and the first 30 minutes of the movie being not very good and borderline unwatchable, that's not good. That is not good. Like, if some people say, I don't like this movie because the first part is so bad, it's bad. I'm not going to say it's not bad. However, as soon as Myers, as soon as Myers is an adult, we have a completely different movie on our hands now. This is when the shit really starts to get good. Okay? So, when they escort Myers to his last session with Loomis, okay? You ready for this shit? He is escorted in chains. And it just looks great. Myers what sets this Myers apart from the other Myers in the franchise is that this Myers is fucking big. And if you watch my Ends review, I say that Myers is big in most of the continuities, but he's never too big. In fact, I think he was, he's never too big. Like, he's bigger than most people around him, but he's not like a steroid guy. But in this continuity, he's fucking massive, okay? However, in this continuity, I think it works. I think Myers in this continuity is needed to be fucking big. And the reason for that is the supernatural stuff is not in this continuity. When Loomis is talking about his book, he makes it very clear that this is a realistic, like, this is like basically, this is like the real events that inspired the 1978 movie, if you will. Like, this is like the actual serial killer that the movies were made about, if you will, if you understand what I'm trying to say. Like, this is the real man, okay? This is the human. This is human Myers. I saw fucking somebody say, well, Michael Myers, he's human in Halloween Ends, bro. He's human. No, fucker. This is human Michael Myers. This one. This is human Myers. This right here is the best executed human Myers ever. Not that there's, like, a lot of those, but, like Myers being completely human and being created by a series of internal and external factors, a perfect storm, as Loomis describes, like, that right there, like, this is human Myers. This is human. This guy. He's being escorted in on chains. There's security guards everywhere. He towers over all the security guards as he's being escorted in these chains. It looks great. It just looks so fucking good. He looks like the goddamn Frankenstein monster, and it's great. It's genuinely great. Okay, now let's get to the breakout scene. Okay, so this is another great scene. Obviously, again, theatrical cut. We're not talking about the fucking rape. We're talking about the where he beats the piss out of all the security guards. Okay, so he's getting moved by the cops or security guards at the whatever. And again, you got the visual with the chains again when he's being escorted out, and he breaks out and just completely destroys them all. He just goes on a fucking rampage, and it's shot really well too. It's kind of grimy, but I mean what they were doing with it, I liked it. And it's just like he's so efficient and brutal. It's great. And then it ends with the Danny Trejo character, who was the only one who was nice to Myers. He gets it fucking worse than anybody. He gets a callback to Halloween 2 from 81 with the tub, where he puts him in and out, or whatever. And then, like he's just, it's so good. And he takes a fucking TV, and then he chucks it at his head. It's great. The breakout's really good. The breakout's really good. It's one of the best parts of the movie. The breakout is. From the cops all the way to Danny Trejo getting the TV chucked at his head. It's good. It's good. And then he gets his boiler suit by getting Joe Grizzly, bitch. Which I believe that's like a fan favorite moment, right? With Joe Grizzly, bitch. But he gets him by he takes his hand and just slams it over and over, kind of like a battering ram again on the door. Kind of an early throw, kind of like an early preview to what would be in the 2018 movie, where he uses the guy as the battering ram to get in the door. And it's like the David Gordon Green trilogy. It took a lot of stuff from the Rob Zombie movies, bro. It took a lot of stuff. The Loomis writing a book angle was transferred to Laurie in Ends. Like, they took a lot of stuff from the Rob Zombie movies. Specifically this one, I'll see some more in 2, but specifically this one, the David Gordon Green took more than they would probably care to admit from the Rob Zombie movie. Okay, so Act 2, again, the pacing's a little off. It does have the Myers and Loomis issue is, I mean, you can look past it. It's just kind of like, we're still setting everything up, if you will. It didn't really need to take 40 minutes to do that, but, we're here now. And, okay. So, we are now at Act 3, lads. I have a question. I gotta look. Never mind. Never mind. It doesn't. Irrelevant. Okay. So, Act 3. We get to Haddonfield. Oh, God. The very first thing you gotta say about Act 3 is when the first thing that Myers does when he gets back to Haddonfield is he enters his house, okay, and he tears the floorboards to get his knife and the mask, and the song is playing in the background, and it's just so good. It's just so good. The scene, it's like 30 seconds long, but he gets into his house, he rips the floorboards, stabs the knife into it, he gets his mask and puts it on, and the song is in the background. It's at this point where you now get to see the new look of the mask, and Myers does a few head turns to just so the audience can get a good look at the mask, and holy fucking shit, dude. Myers in this movie looks phenomenal. He looks phenomenal. When Myers is on screen in this movie, he's great. The way he looks, one thing that I honestly think Rob Zombie a way better cinematographer than a director. But the way that Zombie knows how to use the camera and set up shots and use lighting and just to make something have a neat aesthetic to it, it really shows here. It really shows. He would end up going overboard in Halloween 2 in terms of the mask, but in this movie it's just tattered enough to be brilliant. Ends is guilty of this too, where Ends the mask in Ends looks kind of dumb. It looks overly it's over designed, but I think 2007 and 2018 Kills are the three best masks in terms of being kind of tattered and worn down. But it's like, when I'm thinking about which Myers is like the most aesthetically appealing to be on the screen, like, I honestly think it's this one. I honestly do. The way that, like, this Myers is combined with the lighting of the shots, it just makes him a joy. Like the tints, the color tints in some frame. It is a very good looking third act. And the way when Myers is moving and he's standing and he's turning his head, like all that little stuff is just really good. It's just, you can tell Rob Zombie really liked his design. And it, so he made sure that it was shown off to an extreme degree in this. Great. It's really good. It's really, the mask looks fucking perfect in this movie. Okay? So, the next thing to talk about when you're talking about Act 3 is we're getting to Laurie now, okay? Laurie, and the very first thing that Laurie does in this movie is establish that this is not the same Laurie Strode. This is different. This is different. This is not Jamie Lee's Laurie. The first thing that she does when she shows up is she makes a joke insinuating that the guy who just went out of business is a sexual pedophile, and then she does some shit with like donuts. She takes donuts and like pretends to like fondle her breast with that. I don't know. It's really weird. This is a different Laurie, is what you're being told. She is much more like her friends in this one, kind of ditzy. And it's just, she's much more akin to a typical victim in this movie, and she acts like more of a victim in this movie too. Staying there, staying in that frame of mind. Danielle Harris as Annie. I mean, she's not winning any Oscars, but it was good to see her. Even though Annie's it's a smaller role, but it's still nice to see Danielle Harris in a Halloween movie again. And then there's Linda. And I mean, they're just there. They're not. I mean, they're just there. They're very Rob Zombie. They're Rob Zombie creations. Let's just say that. And then Bob. While we're talking about Linda, let's bring up Bob real fast. Bob suffers from he got the big, oh my god, it's Rob Zombie. It's not even just Bob. Like, all the guys in this movie are like that. They're all gross, and they have like really weird. Their hair's really long, and Myers too. His hair's long in this, but like you don't see it much. He's got masks on, but like they got really long, disgusting hair, and they all look gross. Paul's the only exception. He's normal, but like it's just, I don't know why Rob Zombie like chose to like cast attractive women and then like ugly guys. It's weird. It's that weird shit that Rob Zombie likes to do. It's really weird. But there you go. There you go with that. So because of that weird stuff, the Laurie, Annie, Linda stuff can be hard to get through. Like when Myers is stalking them, like Linda's like, you want some of the young stuff, and it comes off as, again, it's Rob Zombie bullshit. It's Rob Zombie crap. Okay, and we talked about how he starts replicating they do the shot where Myers is looking at Laurie and then he's not there anymore. Like, they do all that stuff, and again, it starts coming off out of left field, man. Let's talk about Brad Dourif as the Sheriff Brackett. Brad Dourif, he doesn't have much to do in this, admittedly. But like when he's on, he's got his Chucky voice. That's fun. But the scene of him talking about Loomis's book and the blood, you've created the monster of this town, and that stuff. That was a good scene. When Dourif was talking to Lucas, and the inclusion of Dourif was talking to Loomis, when Sheriff Brackett was talking to Loomis about how Loomis created a monster off the blood of the town, I like that. I like that stuff. That was pretty good. And I know he has more to do in the next one, so I'm interested. He's the aspect of the next one I'm most interested in seeing. I think he is the best Sheriff Brackett ever. I mean, there's only two, and he does more than the other one. So there you go. Not really a hard contest to win, but he wins it nonetheless. And their active role, like Loomis and Dourif. Why do I keep calling him Dourif? Loomis and Brackett, the way that they are handled in terms of the plot, I actually prefer in this one over the original, and I'm not even lying to you. In the original, what they do is, like, they stand around at the Myers house and talk. That's what they do. That's what they do. Like, it's great. The lines are all good. And, like, in the context of that movie, it also kind of makes sense where it's like Loomis, like, they know Michael was there and he's going to come back. And so, like, Loomis, like, I'm going to wait for him. So, like, in that context, it's good. In this context, however, that wouldn't work. So what the substitute and what they do is they make them more involved. They are in the car. They're actively sweeping the city, and like they're moving from place to place, and I liked that. I do like that. And like the idea that Brackett was the one who responded to Deborah Myers' suicide call, and he omits Lori from the report, and then he drops her off at the hot. Like, all that's, like, Sheriff Brackett being directly involved with Lori and the, like, you know what I mean? Like, all that aspect of it is great. And speaking of that aspect, the fact that Rob Zombie, this is a brother and sister continuity, where they're brother and sister. Rob Zombie leans into that heavily. The brother-sister angle is divisive nowadays. It was probably divisive when it came out, too. Let's not kid each other. But, like, the brother-sister angle is a divisive thing. However, it's used here. And one interesting thing that Rob Zombie is able to do is work it in better. Because if you don't know, the brother-sister angle was created when John Carpenter had writer's block in 1981. That's where the brother-sister angle came from. Okay? However, since they're brother and sister from the outgo in this one, which they weren't in 1978, these two characters were not brother and sister. They were not written to be brother and sister. However, what Rob Zombie is able to do here is tackle the characters as brother and sister in the original movie, which is something that the original doesn't do because they weren't written to be brother and sister. So Rob Zombie's able to lean into that aspect heavily, and like even with characters like Loomis and Brackett, as they're more involved with that angle, and just like Myers kidnapping Lori instead of killing her, like that's all good stuff. They're able to play around with that dynamic and do some more things with it because they can work it into the original movie now. I like that. That's good stuff. But the real strength of this third act, and we've already kind of hinted at it, is that Rob Zombie just knows how to position Myers in frame to make everything look beautiful. It's in its own horrific, gruesome way. It's a very beautiful third act. I'm like, if you're into the visual style that he's going for, it's a beautiful third act. Okay, let's get to the example. The first example I want to talk about there is with Linda. But Bob and Linda actually die first in this movie, which they die second, but they die after Annie in the original. They die first here. They go to the Myers house to do their sexual intercourse, okay? And the way that Myers kills Bob is by, they're doing the ghost shit, right? Bob has the ghost thing on, and then Myers, like, he does the same thing. He kills him the exact same way. And again, Bob's death doesn't work here because this Myers is not the Myers from 78. So it's like, that's why I wish, like, Bob's death in the original is good. Bob's death here, even though it's the exact same kill, is not good because it doesn't work with this Myers. However, when Linda dies, I think it's better here than the original too. Like, I'm not even lying to you. Bro, I'm not lying to you here. And the way that he kills Linda in this he chokes her, okay? And he chokes her off screen. However, what he does here is, like, he enters the room and with the ghost sheet on, but he takes it off real fast. And then he chokes her, okay? He grabs her by the throat. And what Zombie does with the camera here is perfect. Myers, he's so fucking big, right? And he's looking down at Linda, and Linda's looking up at him, okay? And it goes kind of back and forth between them for a second. And it just shows the sheer size and power of Michael Myers. And there's some distance it shows there's some kind of distance between what Myers is and what a normal person is via just the way Linda uses, like, her eyes and looks. Like, it's great. Her, like, it says everything you need to know about Myers without saying a single fucking word or scream or anything. It's great. he just grabs her. They stare at each other, and through well-executed camera shots and lighting, it's great. It's really good. That's really good. Another example, when Myers kills Laurie's parents. When he breaks into the house, right? He kills the dad. He drags him in like a pile of trash. He's so fucking big again. He walks in, drops the dad on the floor. Stop. He drops the dad on the floor, and then he walks towards Laurie's mom, and the way he like gets bigger and bigger as he walks toward her is beautiful. He takes up so much of the frame because he's so big. They're really using his size, and yeah, they do that. They do the camera stuff again where they're looking at each other, and he grabs Laurie's picture and he shoves it in her face. It's great. It's really good. I'm not lying when I say this is some of the best Halloween in the franchise. He shoves it in her face, and then he slams her through the glass table. And then he like snaps her neck. It's great. It's really good. And like he just with effortlessly snaps her neck, and it's really good. It's really good. Again, but those are two examples of the way that the camera is used in this. The camera is used so well in this third act, and it's used as a resource insanely well in this movie. I'm not gonna sit here and compare it to the others. I know the original used the camera as a resource a lot as well, but the camera is used here very, 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 very well. It's very good. It's way better than anything that's done, and those two scenes are better than everything done in Halloween Ends. Again, this not a little bit better. It is a lot better than Halloween Ends, easily. Okay, so I suppose the next thing we'll talk about is for the Annie when Laurie brings Lindsay over to the house. Okay. And they find Annie and Paul's strung up, and Annie's still alive. So she calls the ambulance, which that's how Loomis and Brackett figure out where to go. But when he's chasing Laurie, okay, again, it's shot really well. It looks really good. Like half of the appeal of the third act is just to watch it, just to look at it. It looks that good. There's a chair. Okay, while Laurie gets out of the house, she takes a chair and she throws it at the door and breaks the glass and runs out of the house. Okay, small detail. In the original 78 movie, right before Laurie slams her hand on the glass to break open the door, there was an illuminated chair in the spotlight that I always thought she should have used to fucking break the glass. So it was really fucking nice to see that. That's what she does in this one. Because that chair is just so illuminated in the original. It's like, what the fuck? Why doesn't she like do something with that? And it's like, it almost like made you think she was by the way it was framed. And so to actually see her use that chair, I really appreciated that, Chase. Okay. The sequence where he's chasing Laurie, not very good. It's good to look at and stuff, but obviously you're comparing it to the original, and the original is a masterpiece for a reason. So, like, obviously the two chase scenes do not compare. Like, when Rob Zombie is trying to emulate John Carpenter, it doesn't work. That, like, the quote-unquote suspense just kind of falls on its face. This is not a suspenseful movie. It's not suspenseful. Well, except, but when it's recreating John Carpenter stuff, there's no suspense. The way that Rob Zombie does suspense is through visual flair and style. Through visual and like, holy shit, what the fuck is going on? What's going to happen here? That's how Rob Zombie does tension. Carpenter does tension by building it up slowly, okay? Carpenter's is harder to do, and Rob Zombie just doesn't have the script writing for that. What Rob Zombie does works for his movies, and what Carpenter does works for his. So when Zombie's trying to emulate Carpenter, it fails. But thankfully, as soon as they get into the house, they stop trying to emulate Carpenter. Okay, it does its own thing. Tommy and Lindsay, who again I haven't really mentioned yet, who by the way are better than the original as well. Tommy and Lindsay, their banter is way better in this. Tommy is way better than this. Tommy is way better in this than in 78. Lindsay, it's whatever. But Tommy's is way better in this one. But Laurie takes the kids and she's hiding, but she's more of a victim in this. She's hiding with the kids, which again, Laurie being kind of a kid is something that the movie works with and plays with. So the fact that she hides with the kids works in this movie. There's a cop, that the cops get in the house. I don't know, maybe they heard screaming. The cops get in the house, and the cops find them, and they're about to open the door. Myers comes in, and he got in by smashing that door down, which, by the way, when Myers is smashing something in this movie, is brilliant. Whenever he's breaking something, it's just really good. The sound it makes, when it goes flying across the room, it's just so satisfying to watch Myers break shit in this movie. And he breaks a lot of shit in this movie as he's walking around. So, really good. That stuff's really good. So, the cop finds him. Myers finds the cop. He stabs the cop. He's fucking sprinkling blood all over the thing. It works for this fucking movie. And then, like, he kills the other cop, whips around. He's fast and efficient, and the camera looks great as it's tracking his movements. And he comes in, grabs fucking Lori, and walks out. He grabs her. It reframes the original to where, like, Myers wins that portion of the chase. He takes a passed out Lori with him and back to the Myers house. Hello, Halloween Kills. This is the movie that started. I know Resurrection takes place in the Myers house, but this is the movie that has the first epic climax in the Myers house in this franchise. Very, like, again, Kills to God from this. This movie did it first. So, the Tommy and Lindsay find Loomis and Brackett, who have found Annie, and they tell Loomis that Michael took Lori and he ran off. Okay, so Loomis is going to the Myers house because he knows that's where they are. Okay, so this next part is the part where Myers unmasks and like he gets on his knees. That might throw some people off, but like he ends up giving Lori the picture of them when they were kids, and Lori doesn't know what, like, he's like she's gonna remember him or something. Like it doesn't what's he think? She's just gonna, oh yeah, hi, I know you. But again, he's not all there, I guess, so it works. But Lori smartly like baits him and she's like, I want to help you. And then she stabs him and then runs out. And again, it all looks really good. It looks really good, bro. And the Myers busts out, like he gets the mask back on, he starts breaking shit, and again, it all looks great. The pool, when Lori falls in the pool and Myers is walking, and Myers is just walking, it's like he looks so good against the night. Like he looks in that blue tint of the pool. It's just perfect. And again, Myers like slowly walks. Rob Zombie really he lingers on that shot just enough. Like very good. It's such good camera stuff, bro. I'm not really a big camera guy, but like when I notice it when it's fucking done right, and it was fucking done right here. So next, Loomis shows up, saves her, and then they butcher the boogeyman dialogue. The boogeyman dialogue definitely needed another take because it didn't get it needed another take, bro. Let's see. I'm trying to, but like, so Myers attacks Loomis. He doesn't kill him though. He attacks Loomis, and Lori runs back in the house, and she's hiding in the walls, and Myers starts breaking down the walls. This is all just really good here, bro. While Myers is breaking shit, Lori grabs Loomis's gun, and she runs and hides in the ceiling. And from when Lori gets into the ceiling until the end of the movie, this is the best part of the movie, right here. This right here is the best part of the movie, and the most rewatchable thing in the movie, and the sequence, in my opinion, that elevates it. If this ending sequence was not in the movie, this would be a mid-tier movie. But this sequence, to me, elevates the movie to being high tier. Okay, here is what happens. So Lori's in the fucking ceiling. Myers, he rips a 2x4 from the wall. It's like a 2x4 or part of the wall or something. The point is, he's got this big chunk of wood. Okay, And this is something that only this Myers could do. Even if the kills or ends Myers was doing this, it would look odd. It's something that this Myers specifically is able to do that the other versions of the character are not able to do. He takes a 2x4 or something, he takes part of the wall, big chunk of wood, and he starts slamming the fucking piece of wood into the ceiling. It's so fucking cool. He's trying to stab her with this big fucking chunk of wood, and he's ramming it into the ceiling over and over, and Laurie is crawling forward, dodging this shit every time he does it. He's just slamming it over and over and over, and just the visual flair, the shit is falling down around. It looks so fucking brilliant, dude. And it's the first time you're watching this, it's genuinely suspenseful. Like, he wants to get this fucking bitch. And he's doing it over and over and over and over again. And Laurie ends up, like, he's weakening the foundation of the house is what's going on. He's weakening the entire foundation. Laurie keeps crawling, but she eventually fucking falls through the ceiling because the foundation gives way. She falls through the fucking ceiling, and she's a fucking bloody mess. She stands up. Myers just fucking chucks the 2x4 and fucking sprints at her, and then he tackles her, and they both fall off the balcony together, which is the callback to when he falls off the balcony in the original. They both just fall off the fucking balcony, and she lands on top of him, okay? She lands on top of him, so he's passed out, and she lands on top of him. She gets the gun, shoots him point blank in the face, and screams. And she's screaming, holding her face. There's blood everywhere. And then the shot transitions to the moving version of the picture that they took, revealing that Laurie was actually screaming when they were kids in that picture. And like she was screaming and crying in the picture as she is screaming and crying with him now. It's very good. It's very good. And then so like the pictures come, like they're both there. Lost my train of thought. So she's screaming and crying like she did when they were kids. Like the circle, the family trauma is back. In other words, like they're just as traumatized now as they were when they were kids. And the Halloween theme is blaring in the background, and that's your movie. It's really fucking good. The last 5 minutes of this movie or so is just excellent. It's just excellent. I cannot say enough good things about the final act of this movie, dude. Especially the final sequence. It's that fucking good. Again, this isn't just average stuff. This is great. This is genuine, really good Halloween. And it was different. This is how you do different right. That. Again, for everything that this movie gets wrong, for every one of its mistakes, for every fucking time they say cunt or shit or bitch, all that fucking stuff, those to me are nitpicks and always have been. The major themes of this movie are of the family trauma and trauma like going from one generation to the next, and how you can't really outrun your blood or all that stuff. All that stuff, those are the major themes in this movie, and those are a massive hit. Those are brilliant. The highs of this movie are some of the highest highs this franchise has. That's why I don't understand why people go, oh, well, it's just, it's not very good, bro. This is not only above average, this is very good. It's very good. So, like, I mean, maybe, again, this movie's not for everybody. Just by its very nature, what zombie does, etc., etc. Like, if you say, "Oh, I hate this movie doesn't really work for me," like I completely get all that, because I was one of them. I had to rewatch this movie an awful lot before I actually said, you know what, this is actually really good, because all the stuff that I think what you find is that when you rewatch it, the stuff that bothers you less. Because I guess you're growing accustomed to it. And once that stuff starts bothering you less, you are able to look for positives. Because it's like, the fifth time you watch this movie, you don't care about when William Forsythe says, who pays money for a fucking rat? It's a goddamn rat. Like, you're not looking at that anymore. You're looking at the other stuff that you may not have noticed before. And then you start to really go, wait a minute, I didn't notice that on my first viewing because I was too distracted by Michael Myers and Linda yelling about her cunt. You know what I'm saying? If like when you actually analyze the stuff that you came to see, it's brilliant. And that's something that Halloween Ends just doesn't have. Because like it just doesn't have that. Because there is stuff you came to see in this movie. There is. Like, I really feel like when I rewatch Halloween Ends again, whenever I decide to do that, I'm gonna hate it just as much. And I don't foresee that if I give Halloween Ends the same treatment and rewatch it over and over and over again and look for things I like, I do not think that I will be able to find as many quality and improvements on rewatches. Because there's just not a lot of meat in Halloween Ends, and that's just a fact. There's not a lot there. What you came to see is actually in this movie. You have to get through the shit you didn't come to see first. And again, that is a problem and docks the movie points. But like when I'm looking at this franchise, when you're looking at this franchise and comparing it to other slasher franchises too, like, do you want this or Resurrection? Yeah, exactly. Do you want this or would you rather watch Halloween 2007 or Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare? Like, I know what I'd rather watch. Would you rather watch this or Jason Part 5 or Jason Takes Manhattan? Like, for real. Would you rather watch this or Child's Play 3? This is not on the same planet as as some of the other bad installments of these franchises. That's why when you I just came to the conclusion that it's not there at all. It's not even in that conversation to me. Because like when you compare, like, would I rather watch Halloween 2007 or the Terrifiers? Halloween 2007. The Terrifiers are terrible. Don't at me. Both of them. The best thing about Terrifier 2 was the fact that the protagonist was hot. That's it. And the rest of the movie sucked. The Clown Cafe was fun too. The song "The Clown Cafe" was fun, but there's no this movie has substance. It's just not apparent, and not everything it's trying to do works. So a lot of the attempts fall flat on its face sometimes. But it's just one of those things, man. I think I've explained it, or it's like I really recommend you give this another chance, especially with how bad Halloween Ends is. If you need your Halloween fix, because Halloween Ends was a piece of shit, you have nothing to lose by checking this movie out. And again, what's really interesting about this movie is this is the only timeline, 3, I guess, but I don't really, 3's one movie, not a timeline. If you want to get, Halloween Ends was so bad, I actually needed distance from the original. Like, that's how bad Ends was. Like, I couldn't look at the original without thinking of Ends, because Ends was that fucking bad. This is the only timeline where you can get the original out of the canon. Which again, that's the original is still great. Don't get me wrong, but it's like when the ends in the original were so closely connected. If you want something different, man, this is what you should be watching, and I highly recommend you put it on this year. Give it a chance, bro. Give it an honest chance. And again, if you don't like it, sit on it for a few days and then watch it again, and then watch it again, and then watch it again. If you give, the more chances you give this movie, the more it will reward you. It has its value goes up with every rewatch. I highly recommend this movie. It is in my top 5. I like it that much. All right, lads, I'm getting the hell out of here. GG's.